Hello? Yeah. So retail in India today is scaling rapidly across formats, price points, and geographies. But as brands expand, delivering a consistent consumer experience is becoming increasingly complex. Whether it's premium or value, metro or tier 2, tier 3 cities, the real focus is aligning channels, operations, and on-ground execution. Today, we have a fantastic set of leaders who are navigating this complexity, balancing scale with consistency, driving conversions across channels, and adapting to very different consumer expectations. Yeah, so I start with Raghav. What does a unified customer experience mean in your business, and what mostly directly drives conversion?
So hi everyone, I'm Raghav Agarwal representing V Bazaar, and we're into the value fashion format. We have a chain of stores across India, again 140 stores. So I think unified interface and driving conversion would be tracking customers, sales data, and again understanding. So for unified interface, we have let's say the devices like a footfall counting machine, or our planning of the customer's demand, which is merchandising, is done very much in advance on the basis of the seasonal trends, huge amount of data analytics that we run on them, a lot of metrics that we do. So I think basis all of that, we have our own algorithm that gives out a buying module, and which is then further we use it in our supply chain, which is auto replenishment algorithms. Again, every store, even stores with a mile apart will have different trend of fashion or acceptance of fashion. So it's all interconnected, and as far as conversion goes, we again focus on the product and the pricing, and whatever the customer wants is what you have to display. So the game is to show what sells, and that is how we track and build on our conversion.
Sure. And we move to the other side of the spectrum, premium and luxury retail. So I have a same question for Pranchal, that how does he look at the business, the unified experience to reach out to his customers?
Yeah, firstly, thank you, Madhulika. It's a pleasure to be here and exchange notes with all colleagues here. Just for context of the audience, I represent or lead Collective and Mono Brands in India. This is the luxury part of Aditya Birla Fashion, where we have all the three kinds of formats which exist in fashion retail. We have a multi-brand department store, which is called Collective. We have mono-brand business in form of different brands such as Polo Ralph Lauren, Fred Perry, Hackett, Ted Baker. And we also have a very large D2C e-commerce business. So for us, Madhulika, first of all, what is unified experience? I think unlike the mass or masstige for us, it's not about speed or scale and about hence seamless technology. It is actually about seamless memory. And let me explain what it means. So 73% of customers prefer the store staff recognizing them above speed. And it is directly proportional to the dwell time, and the dwell time is directly proportional to how much they buy. So it's about seamless journey across different channels, and the customer not having to repeat himself or herself when they are at the store. So while store is the north star of the experience, and in the world of luxury we lead that game, but increasingly the digital channel is obviously becoming very big. 61% of discovery is happening online. So it's about having a seamless journey from, let's say, Instagram, where you discover the brands, or from WhatsApp, where you're talking to a style consultant, and then eventually when you're coming to a store. So the seamless handshake among all these parts of channels is what really matters as the most important thing. And at the end of the day, it's about a customer in the world of luxury feeling unhurried, feeling respected, and feeling understood. And that's really what is unified experience for us.
Sure, sure. So moving from brands and retailers, we talk to Ankur and Pradeep, from a design and technology angle. How do you see this, and how has it evolved over the years?
Yeah. Hi, good evening. I'm Ankur. I represent Bombay DC. We are a digital consulting firm, and we build all of the digital systems and experience layers that are needed for today. So from a design and tech point of view, I think, unified, I think at some point, everyone got it a little wrong because everyone said we have one store, now a new channel web and a new channel app and a new channel WhatsApp. But it's not about adding more channel, it's this one layer that sits above all of these channels that is talking to all of these channels so that a customer does not have to restart. That's the main problem with that. You have to restart, and when you restart at every different channel, it's damn irritating. So everyone's bought a lot of technology, but like I was talking to him earlier, and he was saying, at base, they have all of the technology which is available to connect. And I was saying, but why is it like we still send a message on WhatsApp and you don't get the response that you spoke over email, right? It's not connected because technology has been bought, but people are not trained enough to also service this unified experience.
So there has to be a seamless integration between these channels, between, different ways of communicating with the customers.
Yeah, the integration is there. There are enough softwares and technologies that integrate everything. Everything is open source or API based,
Yeah.
etc. But two parts. One, there needs to be this one single layer sitting above all of them to give them intelligence at every spot. Like when a customer walks in, you see a shoe online, then you go to the store to try it, and then you end up buying on the app. Now, these three are all coming from the same system, but if the system was talking to all of them,
Yeah.
that's when you get a unified experience that at the store, the person, your salesman, when he sees you and you show him that, look, I want to see this, which I saw on your app.
Yes.
The person should immediately know everything else you've also browsed.
Absolutely.
So that kind of experience which requires a layer plus also training.
Yeah.
I think that's a great intro for what we do, right? So base.com is basically a single backend system that connects your Amazon, Modern Trade, Shopify, shippers, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, everything, and we sort of become that central backend layer. We are a 20-year-old company from Europe. We launched in India a year and a half ago. My name is Pradeep. I spent about 10 years in India across FMCG and software, and 10 years in Europe, mostly in e-commerce, longest stint being at Amazon in Europe. And recently I moved back to India to launch the base.com. Right? Thanks for the opportunity, and it's great to share some of my thoughts here with some really esteemed panelists and very varied views as well. And like Pranchal was saying, when it comes to luxury or when it comes to something low priced, we have a good spectrum on this panel. A unified experience is something that's becoming crazily important now, right? Now, customers saw my ad, pinged us on WhatsApp, ordered, returned, asked for a size exchange. In the end, the LTV of this customer, are they coming back? Are they profitable for me? Is a question that brands don't know the answer to today. And that's a bit crazy, right? In an age that we live in today, this should be answerable, right? This should be easy to get, theoretically, right? Now, with the AI adoption really taking off, the last few months, we have customers, I recently wrote on this topic, right? So we have a customer who sells tea. They asked us for an MCP. And that felt really good, right? Because people running a brand are talking tech, talking AI already in India. But unfortunately today, it's still at that place where, people are scratching the surface. There's a lot of unknowns, right? So this question takes a crazy relevance a few years, months down the line, because people who don't think of it like this. Now data has been democratized. Now, if as a founder you want to know which SKU of mine in Kanpur RTO for the last 1 month, give me a list of 3 bad performing SKUs based on RTOs. Shouldn't be a problem. It's really solved. AI should get you that answer in a jiffy, right? So do brands use it? Do brands know what is the right metric to go for? Now here, like Ankur was saying, softwares are there. There are 5, 6 softwares that people generally use. You could use 1 instead of 5, which is something that we believe in and we push. But irrespective of whether the product exists, I think India also needs to do a lot of work on the learning and adoption of it. Now, if you go to a warehouse, the actual end user of such products, things that we sell, or if you look at, companies like, GoQuick to OMS to WMS, all the softwares that brands today need, right? ERPs and so on. The usage is something where we need to upskill as a country, right? So I'm looking forward to that and hoping that, India really understands that as a consumer base, as a large population with effectively the only growing market, to be honest, right? So we are a global company. We have US, UK, Brazil, Europe, India, right? Nowhere orders are growing. It's only India where orders are growing, right? GMV is growing here. So I think it's a great opportunity, and hopefully this becomes a commonplace thing across brands in India is what I'm looking for.
Sure. Now coming over to Sandeep, how have you in your experience seen the consumer journey evolve over the years? And do you think that, consumers are channel agnostic, or do they behave differently across different touch points?
Hi, good afternoon. So, see, the first thing that we have to realize that it is we as retailers who think channels. The consumer doesn't think channel. From the consumer point of view, it is largely the product or the brand and the experience. So typically in today's environment, as I think it's already stated, the initial search is digital. So the brand or the product search happens digitally, from where the customer then moves on to the next stage, which is experience, for which physical matters. And thereafter sales can happen at any point in time. So the customer is completely channel agnostic. For him, it's that one experience that matters. So as brand, what we should be delivering is a single experience across all the channels. Sometimes what happens is, the online presentation is very fascinating, but when the customer reaches our store or a multi-brand where we are available, if the experience doesn't match the promise, then there is a loss of trust. So what is important is, we live up to the complete experience and the story that we are creating from initiation. Because for the customer, there is only one understanding, that he is looking at fulfilling his need. So probably if you were to look around, what is important for us specifically as brands is to deliver the promise that we initially started off with.
So on those lines, again for Vivek, how in your experience have you seen consumers moving between offline and online, and how have you tried to give them that experience so that it's seamless and consistent?
Very interesting point. I've been hearing a lot of extremely interesting points being made. I'll take a step back, Madhulika, frankly. What am I building a unified experience for? And that's the first question we need to ask. And this is something that, I know of somebody who did an exercise in an organization, got the entire leadership together and told them, write down that one problem you want to solve about customer experience or customer fulfillment or your sales. 6 people in the room, 6 different answers. Before I get to a unified consumer experience, I think that unified idea of what I want to use to build trust with the consumer needs to be fixed. Once that is fixed, that will start defining, because today we speak about unified experience basis tech, basis training, basis merchandise. These are levers we have, right? Does the consumer see you the same way? Does the consumer see you like, I bought this brand from an EBO or on Myntra or on their brand website or at Shoppers or an MBO? They don't see it like that. They may be transacting at multiple places, but they need the brand to feel the same at every single touch point. Like Sandeep also mentioned, that's the key. And it's a challenge that is not external. It is more internal for most brands, for them to be able to decide what is it that is going to be my holy grail. And then try and fix and walk away from some businesses if you have to, right? The other fact, and which is something that I may or may not have a perfect answer to, while I think about us as a market, and I'm speaking purely of clothing, numbers could be slightly different of different reports, but 60% is unorganized, 40% stays organized. Now, when I look at the 40% of apparel market, which is organized, 70% of the organized market is sitting offline. 30% of the 70% is in your controlled spaces. 70% of the 70% is in spaces which you do not have control on, right? And that is where the real dilemma comes in. That do I stay true to the channel, true to my product, true to my brand? Where do I find the balance to be able to create one experience where the consumer starts to trust my story? Because this unified experience is of no use if I'm not able to generate trust, right? And that's got to link to my purpose. I think there are a lot of fundamental thought level questions to be answered first before we kind of start applying tech, and then you start finding multiple bullets which in different directions. I'm not sure if many people would land in many great places with that, and I'm sure you'll agree that Amazon has been able to sort of do that, of course in one kind of space, but they've been able to really sharpen everything in one direction. The dilemma that multi-channel retail deals with is when you're selling across shapes and forms of spaces and different networks, how are you going to be able to define that one thing that carries along? And that's the biggest thing to be cracked. We're on our journey, we're trying to do a bunch of things around merchandising, staff training, the language, the display, and so on and so forth. It's a long journey, I believe.
True, very true. So, coming to Kush, relatively newer brand, last few years, you're looking at, multi-channel going forward. What are the few challenges that you think, or few focus areas that you think that, you need to take care of when you're, moving across these, different channels, taking a multi-channel journey going ahead?
So, like you said, we are relatively new, right? And some of the things that the panelists said, that we look at, identifying that one problem that we want to solve of our customer, and how do we move our entire organization, how do we get all our various aspects or channels to address that one problem of the customer. Right, so ours is a women's ethnic wear business. So our customer would want, say, a 6XL of a particular garment. Now, if she goes to my store or she discovers me on Instagram or any other form of social media, she should be easily directed to either our own website where she can buy it, or to the store which is close to her. Right? So we focus only on answering that one fundamental question of solving the customer's problem, whatever that might be. So that's how we approach that particular problem.
Sure. So in terms of staying true to your concept, in terms of, aligning with the customer that this is going to be your journey, and explaining to them that, this is how you need to move forward. So there is a size that you may get online, you may not get offline, but the customer needs to know about it and be clearly told of.
Yes.
So, now moving from retail, brand to a product brand, coming to you, Mayank, you are in a category which is, impulse and, operates on discovery. What are the moments of trigger that, converts a shopper to buy a product like a candy toy, Hoppins?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Mayank here from Candy Toy Corporate. And when it comes to impulse buying, the first thing what comes across is, do I look at this product and just buy it straight up for my kid or for myself? So this is where our brand or our product plays an important role.
You can also explain the product,
Okay, so candy toys basically like, how we used to eat lollipops or how we eat candies. But at the same time, what we have done is we have brought up a innovation where all the toys are there to play for the kids, and we have put the candies inside the toys. So at the same time, the kids can enjoy the toys and also enjoy the candies. Where the question comes for parents, are the candies going to be okay for the kids? It's made in India and everything. So yes, we make sure all the ingredients which we use in India are short enough which we export to US or to Netherlands or to any other country we export to. So the quality is not compromised for the kids. We make sure, the ingredients which we use are natural colors and all that has been taken care of. But more the activity is aligned for the kid. The kid should enjoy for at least good 1 day or 2 days. So, we can actually again retain the customer to get the new toys, to get the new products. For the company, we also have to see how much innovation we do. So the more we innovate, the more we can attract the customers, the more we can attract the kids. At the same time, when we were talking about the impulse buying, look, I have a little old school thought process when it comes to digital purchase or when you're buying straight up in the store. If you're buying straight up in the store, you have something in your hand and you feel very good about it, you end up buying it. Whereas online, you have a doubt for a new brand like us who are coming up with the new process and new products. You might not be sure about it. At the same time, you might buy it once or twice, but when you end up buying in the store, you become more confident about it. And then, you can go online because we are available online or anywhere else or on e-commerce or anywhere you go across because that's the need of the hour. If we don't become available online, you can't be striving in this current zone right now. So, growing as a brand with stores, we have to make sure our presentation of the toys and the products is 100% up to the standards where we can make our customers feel 100% comfortable in buying it right away.
Sure. So, coming to Sandeep, Vivek, Raghav, Pranchal and Kush, now in terms of, you all are present across different categories and across different price points. Do the conversion triggers kind of remain the same for the different categories or price points that you are present in? Or, are they fundamentally different or do you see some commonality between these?
So So I think to address this, see, overall, if you look at when it comes to price point, India today has opened up to higher price points. However, it is not the price that matters, it's the value. So if you look at the Indian consumer today, it's the typical thought process of, is this worth 10,000? So if it is worth 10,000, then 10,000 would be something that the customer would be willing to pay. And the biggest thing that we have to understand as brands is that the same consumer is across different categories, a different kind of a customer. So you'll find a lot of customers buying an iPhone latest edition, which is like top of the line, whereas when he goes for a apparel or footwear, he might drop several notches below to probably a 2,000 rupees shoe or a 1,500 rupees apparel. So what happens is, we have to understand as an Indian customer, we have a very value-centric thought process. Hence, as brands, we have to deliver the value that the customer is seeking. And across tiers, what differs probably is the capability of earning, but not the value-centric thought process. So even in a metro, if you are delivering the value of 10,000 rupees for a shoe like what we are selling, then you'll find those customers across all cities. Or if you're not delivering the value or the promise to the customer, then you'll face this challenge everywhere. So I think that is what I would feel. Vivek, you can add something.
Yeah, so I'll kind of lean on to agreeing with him. However, I'll just add one more layer to that. The value that the consumer sees in whatever you're offering is a function of time and space that they're in, right? And to take a very simple example, all of us have a CRM. When we look at our CRM data, we know that there are customers who only shop in EOSS. There are customers who only shop when you launch a new season, and there are customers who shop when you launch a new season as well in USS. The third category is the best customer for you, right? Because he's buying new as well as helping you sort of liquidate whatever's left over. However, when you see the mix of purchase, it typically changes, right? So when someone's buying at a time when the season is new, the value that they want to derive out of that is freshness, and hence you see the baskets being of multiple categories. While and that's where, pride and joy led consumption, and those are the triggers really. And, I genuinely believe triggers are only emotional. They cannot be a rational trigger. Uh, uh, and during end of season sale, when you see there are lots and lots of single category purchase, like, you'd buy like 6 round neck t-shirts. I know that this person is buying it for home use, general lounging, sleeping, and so on and so forth, right? Because it's at a deal. I think that's one thing when we are able to figure about a consumer. Uh, LTV can be anything, but that's the toughest part to figure.
So I just wanted to add one thing to what you said, that Indian customers are very value centric. uh, Price is not the definition of value, but the product, the happiness, all of them, they contribute towards the value that the customer derives. And if regardless of any point of the cycle, may that be the fresh season launch or EOSS, if the customer, in my case, she feels that she has derived more value than the money that she's exchanging that value for, she's going to keep coming back to me. And that that could be, like you said, it could be an EOSS customer. She might feel that this product is giving her only that much value at 50% discount. But a lot of times customers are also deriving, when they look at the price point, they first look at the product and then they look at the price, right? And when she gets that, like I would have paid 2,000 for this, but I'm only paying 1,500 for this. That pleasant surprise is something that I think gets the customer to buy the second garment from you, and which also drives value.
I'm just going to add one more point to this. Indian market is one of the most toughest market with the customers, and also we have the most smartest customer across, because they know what exactly they're paying for. At the end of the day, like you mentioned, buying an iPhone has become a status symbol, whereas buying a clothing for, say, 10,000 rupee t-shirt is also a status symbol, where they can afford the same thing for, like, say, 1,000 rupees. So in my case of the category which I work with, candy toy, I have to make sure, because moms are smart enough to make sure they don't waste the money for just an hour or two. So we have to make sure the value what they spend or the value what they're paying for, it's completely valued at. So if I'm charging at 500 rupees for a toy, or with candy toy, they have to make sure it's worth what they've spent money for. But becomes completely different when it comes to spending a shoe for 10,000 rupees or a dress for, like, say, 1,000 or 1,500 rupees. So, I mean, the customer is the king in that part, and they're very smart in what they're spending at.
Yeah, I just want to add, from a customer experience point of view, we've seen different conversion levers. That was your question, across. And let's say a mass brand, I think the reason to exist is a really big conversion lever. Why do they exist? In, like, the first 5 to 10 seconds of them browsing your app or website, if they don't get that vibe, they are not there anymore. If they see the big influencers, celebrities there, and then you are at a mass price point, they're definitely buying you. Then you go to luxury. In luxury, we've seen that it's a very slow, considered buying. So inspiration becomes the most important thing first. If you're not inspiring enough and giving them that slower experience, not pushy, that becomes a trigger. And then you have quiet luxury, where there is no brand. So you are essentially, the person who's paying for the brand is paying for the brand. Functionally, you don't get enough value from a t-shirt, which is, let's say, 15K. But from quiet luxury, you don't even get that. So it's different
Customers
things.
seeking different
Yeah,
trigger points.
different conversion levers we've seen across the kind of brands.
Sure. So we've understood in terms of, what brands, how they want to attract customers. But when it comes to execution, Subbu, this is for you. You've worked with so many brands. What are the key challenges that you see, when you worked with brands in trying to offer, the customer experience across different channels?
Hey, thanks. So I represent Zebra Technologies. We introduced barcode in 1991 in India. We give digital voice to physical stuff. Whatever is in the store, we give. So I started working in Zebra in 2000. So from there on, we were giving a system of records. We used to give barcode, and that used to give system of records. So collective, earlier it was Madura Garments, so you would know how many items are there within a store. Now that was not enough. People wanted real time. Am I having a S or M? Barcode cannot do that. Is it a white or a blue? It cannot do that. We had introduced different SOPs within the store, right from physical inventory audit, cycle counting, etc., every 6 hours, but that was not helping. Then we introduced RFID. We are the ones who introduced RFID for all your toll nakas. So in the country, especially your Aadhaar card, barcode, etc. So when we introduced RFID, we started looking at system of reality. The board or the director or somebody sitting here knows that what is the item within the store. Now we have given a digital voice. So everybody is known by a name. Subbu or, everybody in the store, every garment is having a name now. Now, when I looked at unified experience, this was not enough still because the systems were not talking to each other. Warehouse system was not talking. Store in Ghatkopar was not talking to Andheri store. So we wanted to know whether there is a unified experience. For having a unified experience, we need to connect people, asset, material at real time and take the data, give it to the people at the front line. If the decision making at the front line, if they don't have the data, the decision making would become slow. For example, my friend from Collective is there. In fact, in 2008, 2009, I worked with a Collective brand. In fact, you are from Madura Garments, right? So what's happening is what's there on the online in Collective and what's there in the store. If there is a difference as a customer, I will become not happy, right? Of course, I am happy with Collective. I go there often, right? This is what we need to bring. Digital voice that is actually having the right data in front of the store front line. If a customer walks in, he's walking in with an Apple phone or a phone with 5G, etc. But your store associate, if he's with pen and paper or if he doesn't know what he's doing there, or he doesn't know what's the asset in Andheri and he has to go and look at POS data, that is actually not a right experience for the customer.
But yeah, do you think, which are the areas where you find it very challenging today in creating, connecting each part of a business?
Yeah.
Where is it underinvested at this point of time?
The underinvestment is at the front line. And the front line is not the front line for the customer. For me, when I look at front line, in a customer organization, there are many front line. There is supply chain, there is customer care, there is store team, and each of them are a customer to themselves, each other. And when those are not talking to each other, the end customer experience, end customer is just looking at the material and price, right? But there are so many hundred things going on behind to deliver that. So the frontline execution has to become, has to be technology enabled. So today when I'm working with large retailers, we are not looking at investment for customer experience alone. We are looking at bottom of the pyramid. We are looking at vendor inward at the store, at the warehouse. Is it actually have 100% visible? Once your vendor inward is visible, then it will hit you at the point of bottom of the pyramid has to be digital voiced. Then actually at the top of the pyramid, you are actually, where the customer dot is there, you are able to deliver. Many times what happens is a customer invests heavily on a ERP or heavily on technologies, but they don't talk to each other. And many customers are continuing to buy different brands and they're all on different platforms. And when they don't talk to each other, then it becomes a big, all this is affecting customers' perception about the brand. Whereas the brand could be in a different level, but the customer's perception could differ. And customer's perception doesn't happen because I implemented RFID in the store, customer's not going to buy 2 more t-shirts. His perception is made of hundreds of small things over the year. That helps me to buy in Amuki during Diwali. For example, if I were to do, it's not because I met you today here, but it's because of maybe 20 other things your brand is doing during that time. So I think investing on the front line is very important.
Sure. I think we are running out of time. So, everybody just in the brand that you are or in the space that you're operating, what is that one capability that will define success in building a unified customer experience in the next, 5 years, considering the way, the consumers are evolving and the systems are changing? So, yeah, we can start with Sandeep.
I think I'll call ourselves to be successful if over the next couple of years we are able to look at all channels as one rather than looking at it channel wise. As I look around, we would all probably realize the bigger challenges are inside rather than outside, because the customer looks at the brand, as we've already discussed, as a unified experience from his side. Challenges are internal largely because we still, in our each of our companies probably, we have a e-commerce team, we have a physical retail team, we have a distribution team, and we have to manage those conflicts. Do I have a ready answer? No. We're still working at it because every channel unfortunately have their targets and they want to push it through as per their objectives. So creating that one experience is the biggest struggle or the challenge that as retailers each of us would be facing, and we are still working on that for answers. I don't think we have a ready answer yet, but that's the journey I would want to take for all of us.
I would say one view of data, one truth, and one nuance across the board.
I would say when the whole system is digitally voiced, the customer would be the most happiest.
So I think real-time data analytics is very important. It's becoming a big thing. So understanding the customer much better and understanding their needs and building it in the product and giving a seamless experience will be the key. And that's the base mantra of being unified. And that's where you can target a more repeat ratio or a conversion for the customer.
For me, it's about customer retention and bringing the brand value for the customer is the utmost important part. And yes, the data part is retaining all the data and everything is important. But the feel and the touch which the customer gets, or the name they recall after hearing the name of the brand, is the utmost important part. And I think that is where everybody should focus on by bringing the brand name in the consideration on that part.
From my perspective, I would flip it and say, not one thing for success. This is like one thing if you don't do, you probably are going to be left behind, right? And that is the sum of what these guys are talking about on data, tech, right? Having one system, one number accessible to the CEO. You're able to say as a CEO, here's where I'm making profit, here's where I'm not. This store is out of stock on this thing, and I need a change in the purchase process to not be out of stock somewhere, right? Now, these kind of small things, everyday things, right? Having a complete finger on those things is a non-negotiable. Now, until today, in the, let's say, non-AI age, these were difficult things to do. Operations is not easy in India. India is the most difficult market. If you crack it here, coming from the European experience that I've seen out there, brands in Europe or brands in US, for example, they've got it easier than us. Let's face it, right? Like 10-minute iPhone on quick commerce also is there. And then you have multiple sizes available in 3 stores and online. There is Shopify, there is Amazon, right? So running something for Indian consumers today is a really complex affair. It's a very high demanding consumer base that we've got. So if you don't have that hold of, all sales channels, all different parts of your business coming together with one system, technology-wise speaking, all teams talking to each other, it's going to be like a difficult thing for any brand to scale from here on, is my take.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll subordinate it to customer more than anything else if I have to pick one. And I would say it's real-time contextual intelligence, almost at a segment of one level. I mean, if the consumer really feels that the brand really knows him or her, I think we have cracked it. Of course, there is everything else to be done, but this might be the biggest moat.
Yeah, I think if I were to simplify it, I'd say, and if I were to open a brand today, I'd start building a brain for the brand that makes the experience with the brand intelligent and also makes every employee of the brand intelligent.
I think I'll echo what Sandeep said, which is the problem is within ourselves rather than with the customer. We need to stop thinking of different channels at different divisions and just because the customer looks at it as one brand, and we just need to be one internally so that we can address what the customer says.
Yeah, very true. I think everybody has echoed the same, is of the view that while the consumer looks at us as a single brand, irrespective of the channel, we as an organization also need to work like one and, not work in silos as different channels. So, yeah. Thank you everybody. It was amazing.